Welcome to the Volvo EX30, the second all-electric vehicle built by the brand, only this time on a dedicated EV platform. And my god, what a surprise! It looks like a Volvo, but it's a Chinese, dressed in Swedish cloth. It's built by Geely, but placed by Volvo with the looks, the premium feel and everything else which comes along with the brand. Chinese are very talented when it comes to building EVs, and this Volvo certainly looks to be a successful one. It's bold, stylish, powerful, and yes, it looks like it got infected with the Tesla virus. I mean, take a look at it. Inside there's no instrument cluster, no buttons or switches. That's if you don't count the window commands. You just get this 12.3-inch central screen with everything buried inside. Sometimes many layers deep. To many of us, the screen and the ridiculous acceleration you get on the dual motor version is certainly a bold move, especially when coming from Volvo, a brand which values safety above it all. I personally like it. And I agree with Volvo, safety shouldn't be something boring. And everywhere you search this car, you find nothing which looks like boring. Take the interior for example. You get a blend of recycled materials that look and feel different to everything Volvo used in its car so far, and that's no complaint. But in places, you also get small touches of premium ones, and that takes everything to the next level. What about the layout? Yes, you get the central screen just like the Tesla, but the glove box is now in the middle, the window commands are placed centrally, and the cup holder is floating, just like the door armrests. As for the sound system, on this Ultra trim, you get a wonderful soundbar in the front, complemented by speakers at the rear. Some of the design decisions have additional reasons behind them, but I will get to that point later. As for not having physical climate controls, I personally have no problem with that. And that's because I can literally do everything using voice commands and Google Assistant, and it works really well. Let me demonstrate. Okay Google, turn on fan.
Got it. Turning on fan.
Got it. You see? It's very little I wish I had a physical switch or dial for. If only Volvo could have made everything work through Google Assistant. But I'm afraid some of the things are too sensitive for that. I hope at least they will update the screen layout to include some of the things I will mention later. The trunk might be the least interesting part of this car. But even if it's small on paper, I found the boot space to be just right for what I usually need, even for the longer trips. There's no loading lip, the underfloor space is very welcomed, and you can even adjust its depth. Overall, I would say if you are a family with children which are not yet adolescent, you will find this car very well fitted. On the exterior, I let you be the judge of its design. I personally believe it's very good looking, and despite the boxy and muscular looks, it's actually not a big size, and that's something worth considering when you make the purchase. For me, it works wonderful in everyday city traffic, but also on the longer trips. In the city, it handles like a toy. It's agile and sharp, while on the outer roads, it's quiet, and the ride is very comfortable. I must be honest, the ride comfort is what impressed me the most when I first tested it. Don't get me wrong, it's not perfect in every situation. At low speeds, for example, still shakes you on a bumpy road, as most of other cars will. But once you pick up speed, it behaves surprisingly good. All good so far, right? But did Volvo miss out on anything? Yes, certainly they did. Take this screen for example. Despite being fast and responsive, I believe Volvo just missed a good opportunity to show how to properly implement the home screen. The map takes a lot of screen real estate and squeezes all the important information on this top area, making everything hard to read while driving. I would have preferred a dedicated driver screen instead. You know, one which had all this information blown up on the entire page, with additional things like cruise control distance settings or fog light switch. You know, the map is fine when you want to introduce a destination and go somewhere, but the rest of the time is just wasted screen real estate. Also, the driver drowsiness camera, yeah, maybe it's a good idea, but jumps at you every time you spend too much time looking at the screen. You know, it's like the camera and the screen are against one another in this car. A heads-up display would have helped mitigate this problem. Unfortunately, this is something Volvo decided not to give to this car.
The space in the front is not bad, but there's still room for improvement.
You see this shelf-like surface, which is not a shelf. It seems to be here for no particular reason except design. But the floor is high, and it pushes your knees up against this edge. And me at least, I could not get comfortable enough during those long journeys.
In the back you don't get that much. No seats adjustment, no seat heating, no armrest. Not even seat pockets on this interior trim. You get only the lights, window commands and charging ports. I also find it a bit tight, with the backrest pushing me in an upright position, but against all that, riding here is nothing terrible. Anyway, I'm done complaining. You will find downsides with every car. I just pointed out to you the most obvious ones, and you can decide for yourself what is acceptable or not. I'm glad to say that safety, on the other hand, is a point not negotiable with Volvo. You get a lot of kit as standard on every trim level. That includes blind spot detection, emergency braking, and even self-driving capability with start-stop traffic, among others. As for the powertrain, you will not be disappointed no matter which version you opt for. I have the single motor extended range model here, which is plenty powerful, silent and smooth. It gives the car such a nice dynamic feel. The battery has a claimed range of 480 kilometers, but my personal best is just 430. Maybe you could do better depending on how you drive it, but I will not bet on it. It's also fast. It will do 0 to 62 in just 5.3 seconds, quicker than similar powered models from other premium brands. The regenerative braking and the brake pedal feel are also worth mentioning. Braking feels direct and smooth, and you have no clue whether this is done with the electric motor or the mechanical brakes. It's just seamless. But the best part of it is that it can recuperate quite a lot of energy. 6% charge is what I managed to put back into the battery during one descent to Sinai Brashov, and all I did was just drive the car.
As for charging, AC energy is cheaper, and compared to the previous generation XC40, which could do only 11 kWh AC, this one can do 22 kWh. With DC fast charging, you can go up to 175 kWh. That's if you can find that kind of station anyway.
I do not want to go into more details, because most of it has already been mentioned by others before me. It's very good, and it will not leave you wanting for more. It's got the looks, the premium feel, and the power to match or even exceed anything else you might consider as alternative. And the price is nowhere near what you will pay for a similar spec Audi, BMW or Mercedes. But the question is, how did they make it so affordable? Did they cut any corners?
Take the glove box for example. It's placed in the middle to make it easy for both the passenger and the driver to get to it, right? But there's one other reason. Now the dashboard is symmetrical, and that means it's cheaper to produce with just one tool for both the right-hand side and the left-hand side.
Same applies for why they place the window command centrally and not on the door cards, to save wiring costs, and the list could go on. Nothing of this indicates to me they've done a cheap job.
The only thing I'm not sure of is the presence of the mechanical gear lock. You see, every automatic gearbox should have one, and with this one, looks like the power brake is the only thing holding the vehicle in place at standstill. And that's because I don't have a power brake switch anymore. It automatically engages whenever I'm in drive and I open the door, for example, like you see right now. Or I'm manually engaged in P mode. Anyway, if that's the case, I suspect not only Volvo is doing that.
With this Volvo, it seems like the Chinese care about showing the world they can match Tesla, and even surpass it in some ways. It has so many good things about it, it's hard not to recommend, especially considering what you get as an alternative at this price range. In this video, however, I can only mention the most obvious. If you want to get a full experience of the car, I encourage you to pay a visit at the dealer. It's possible you might have a different impression than I did, but I'm almost sure you will find it a very good proposition, if not the best one today.